you have any thoughts on sort of what constitutes innovation? What is the nature of innovation?
Well, we can look in the dictionary. It means doing something new. But let me cut to the chase. There's almost no way that a big corporation can innovate. And I'm still laughing at a contest Apple held around 1988 or something for show us your design for the computer of the future. So you had Macintoshes on the wall, you had Macintoshes on wristwatches, you had Macintoshes on toasters. And that was the computer of the future because this was what they could visualize. And in any corporate culture, you have a paradigm which cannot see outside its paradigm. And the innovation does not come within the paradigm. Here was IBM, master of the computer world in 1978, when I think it was 78 when I wrote Home Computer Revolution, I predicted the downfall of IBM. People laughed and laughed and laughed because IBM, with its system of corporate capture, it would capture a computer department within a company. Those people would be trained by IBM. They would lose their jobs if the IBM guys didn't like them. They thought like IBM. So IBM had colonies in every corporation, and it was a marvelous system. And there was no way they could imagine anything else coming in. I thought they were intentionally suppressing personal computers. I had a conspiratorial view. I thought that they were suppressing. They didn't have a clue. My wife was working for IBM in the 70s, and she was astonished when she was able to buy a PC. She wasn't aware of Apple, but when the IBM PC came out, she bought one, or maybe it was the one before that, the S400 or something like that. Anyway, so I was asked to consult by two firms in the 70s about a major corporation that was thinking of getting into small computers. So both of these consultants whispered to me that it was really IBM. But we had these day-long conversations fueled by expensive pastries, and I gave the spiel. And I was the only person who brought a computer to one of these. And so finally they went ahead with the personal computer, and it took off like a rocket, which much more than they expected. But of course, it killed the company, partly because they didn't fight to hold on to the BIOS. But there had been no conspiracy. They called one of the joking names for IBM was the Itty Bitty Machine Company. Well, when I was a partner in a computer store in Chicago, I said, let's call it the Itty Bitty Machine Company. And somebody said, oh, IBM might get mad. IBM, when someone would call up IBM and say, we hear you have computer kits, he said, no, call the Itty Bitty Machine Company. And IBM actually said that. So, or somebody did. So that it was, they couldn't think outside the paradigm. And the paradigm was so beautifully constructed, so locked in. It's like every really well-evolved paradigm, like Catholicism, for example. No thinking outside that box. And the innovation is going to come from someplace else. And to hire somebody to say, think thoughts that will help us see the future. Well, I had a friend, he was working for Goldman Sachs, I think, Harry Mandel, brilliant guy. And he said, these derivatives are going to make trouble. These housing things don't work. And they said, Harry, that's not what we want to hear. So the point is, a big corporation can hire people to innovate, but then they won't like it. Xerox created Xerox PARC, and while Xerox PARC innovated and they created the Xerox Star, Xerox couldn't market it because it was outside their paradigm. And even Xerox PARC couldn't create a viable product because it was outside their comfortable paradigm. It was they had a price point that was not feasible. And whereas Steve Jobs started at the bottom with the Apple I, and with the blue box and the Apple I, and that worked fine. So the point is that my advice to Fujitsu would be start an innovation company give them a 10-year budget and then listen. But do not expect, but expect to be challenged on every front.